Hello and welcome to We Women Want. This is our weekly show where we explore issues related to women. We celebrate the winners. We try and find a support group. In fact, it's fast becoming a support group for those who need us. So do write in and let us know of any issue that you would like us to discuss. We'll be happy to have you here. We'll be happy to discuss the issues. But today we are going to be taking a look at the changing nature of relationships, changing nature of marriages, with the change in values, with the women becoming especially more financially independent, questioning traditions. Is there a change in what women especially are looking for when they look for partners, when they look for relationships, when they look for marriages? Joining me on the show today is, we have a very fine panel. We have with us Harshali Singh. She's an author of the very popular Haveli series, which are centered around women. And she's also a member judge at the District Consumer Commission. We have Namita Kohli. She's a principal designer at Visma Atria Interiors. And we have Dr. Vimal, who's a psychologist. Dr. Vimal, you are counseling a lot of couples. You do see this happening. Do you see that because of the changes in expectations? What do you think now couples, especially women, since it is a women-based show, are looking for in relationships?
Yeah, I think because of the progression of bringing up one's own values and the change of values, the change of also the worlds become smaller, right? So it's not like when people look for a partner, they're not only looking for a partner in India like it used to be at one point of time. In fact, there was a time when they would even look for a partner in the same city. So the demographics have also changed, and there is an overall expansion in the views in how to look for a partner and who to look for. There are also websites which encourage the person wanting to get married to participate in their own lookout for their partner. So what do they look for? They look for education. They look for wealthy backgrounds. They look for no interference from the parents.
No in-laws, no joint families.
No in-laws. A lot of times they want to go abroad. They want a secure future, which again comes back to financial reliability and stability. So yes, earlier I think when my grandmom used to facilitate relationships back in the day, and I would overhear conversations where people would come to her and say, "अच्छा लड़का ढूंढ दो, जो सिगरेट ना पीता हो, जो अल्कोहल ना पीता हो, और that's about it. अच्छे घर का होना चाहिए, अच्छा लड़का होना चाहिए." Today it's very different, right? Like education is a must. Like I just said that these things are most. So that is the change. And to people who are a little bit more aware, I think they also look for personalities, a certain type of personality.
But taking off, from what she said in the beginning, now I think what has changed is the girls are now proactively looking themselves. They are logging onto these websites. They are going to Bumble. They are going to various dating apps and looking for not necessarily marriage but relationships. And that whole tradition of fair and lovely girl. Now the girl is asking, what is the guy all about? So there is that change also coming in, Namita.
So I think that's very important, Priya, because I think it's not only, it's not a question of just getting married and just being, and carrying on with your life. I think it's a question of seeing where you're going to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And girls have today started looking at their future independently, saying that where do I see myself fit into society? Where do I see myself maybe in 15 years, in 20 years? How do I see myself? That's a very important question that gets answered. And because of that, they're making these decisions and these choices. Now, whether you choose and you say, I want to choose somebody who's going to be mega rich, let's say, like you say that they're looking for money. Somebody may choose mega rich. Somebody may say, no, I want an academician. Somebody may just say, no, I just want somebody who's just a very loving man who you may have met on Bumble. He may not come from any background. So, today I think it is the children, the girls and the boys are getting very sure of the kind of partner that they're looking for, which I think was not in our time. Like you just said 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, tick ho gaya, so it's fine then.
And also I think the decision maker is now the girl herself more than the whole family getting in, the mother finding the boy, and then you just follow the format.
Yeah, that is true, because I think with education, with exposure, I think girls and boys are realizing that eventually, yes, families do matter. but also the person that they're marrying matters. Whether they have a certain, they are in sync with each other, personality wise, thought wise, even the politics to a large extent now that I'm seeing, because we get cases in the court, in the consumer forum, with people who have given money for these websites that are their matrimonial websites, and you see the kind of they have a chart that what all do you want, and so the first thing is he should be attractive or she should be attractive, she's fair and all that. It's not gone away. The fair is still very much there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the women also can say, I want a fair guy.
Of course, that's what I'm
fair and
saying. It's for
handsome.
both.
Ah.
So the first is the attraction, the physicality of a person. Then the second is the package. How much are they earning? The yearly package, all that, and which company do they work for? So it's going down that. So the family per se, what used to be the first thing that people used to look at, has actually gone down the
gotra and the family,
the list. So essentially, I think they realize that they have to find a space for themselves where they are comfortable, and it's no more about kind of giving into the norm. So I think that has been a huge shift that I see every day in the file when I open. I said, okay, this is what they're looking at now. So it's a learning for me as well.
But can the roles being reversed? Do you see that the man becoming the house husband and the woman working? Are people actively looking for that kind of a couple or not yet?
I don't think, I think what they're looking for is, because they're looking for socio-economic standing to be better than where they are, or where they see them, where they are right now and how they see themselves in the future. I think that a lot of emphasis is on both people working and keeping finances separate.
That also.
That also.
But what happens when you have a child? They still have.
Then you have a joint account. Usually the way, what I get to hear a lot is your money, my money, and then there is our money, which is the expense money, travel money, baby money, pet money.
That also.
That also, yeah. And pets are also considered to have the ability to replace having a child, because there's more movement towards not really having a child because it's too much responsibility.
Now, we are seeing this very high profile fallout in the papers recently between an MP and her strange boyfriend, and they're fighting over the dog. So
Yes,
the custody
there
of a
is
dog
custody
handling.
issues, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is very important. But then, Namita, are the in-laws collateral damage in such a thing? They used to be the all-powerful in-laws. Your mother-in-law, your father-in-law were the, deciding movers in the marriage. Now they're no longer so. Has their role been?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think rightfully so. The marriage is between two people. It isn't between four people. Of course, you're marrying into the family. You marry, and one should accept and embrace the customs and traditions of the family that you're getting married into. Otherwise, why would you? Why are you getting married? In our Indian value system, we do still have a place for a very strong place for the family, which comes into and becomes part of our lives. But at the end of it, the decision-making factor is the two people who are in the relationship, who are in the marriage. It doesn't have to be the mother-in-law's decision कि अब बच्चा पैदा कर लो और अब job change कर लो, अब job छोड़ दो. You don't have to do that, right? You do it based on the fact. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean mother-in-law per se. I just meant it doesn't have to be the in-laws.
Right.
But, it doesn't have to be coming from somewhere, either from the girl's parents or the boy's parents. And let me tell you that as much as today the girl's parents, as much as the boy's parents don't say anything to the children, the girl's parents don't say. Or if the boy's parents say, the girl's parents also have the same amount of say. So that change is also coming about.
And also, a lot of the change has been reflected in popular culture. We've all seen that movie, Rocky and Rani, or whatever it is. So there, she says that I will go live in your house, you come and live in my house. That is also, it's, I think, what do you say, it's part of the times that we live in.
That's true. And so far as in-laws, just to take that further, I think change is bound to happen. As soon as you lose your control, as long as you're civil to each other, I think, isn't it a better place to be in? I mean, I would rather that, we talk nicely to each other and stay apart, rather than we stay in the same house and constantly trigger each other for no reason. So I think there are very good, fallouts to the fact that two people have said that no, we are going to make this decision and we are going to make the choice of staying in a unit and not with the parents. And now I think even parents are realizing that even if you're staying in the same house, and I'm talking about two-tier cities, etc., they all are getting another floor made if they can, of course, financially viable.
Correct.
Wherein the middle class or the upper middle class is trying that they give that
Space.
privacy and space to their children and to the new girl or who comes in, so that she doesn't feel constantly at loggerheads with, the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, the sister-in-law, whoever's at home. So I think there is an understanding which is, it's a churn. I think we are still in that churn.
Yes.
We're still trying to figure out what is the best way to do it. I don't think anybody's figured it out as of now, but certainly there is some good and some bad, and it's a hit and trial that we are trying to, achieve.
So because there is a churn and there is a transition phase, there is also a lot of uncertainty as to what is
Yeah.
okay and what is not. So does that lead to a lot more marriages or relationships breaking up? Because early on you said this was the norm. The husband had the upper hand, his parents had the upper hand, and you were just the docile. Now that is no longer the case. So the questioning starts, and you say then it becomes to a personality clash rather than a tradition.
Yeah,
rules.
I do think I like the word churn because that's exactly what we're going through. We're churning to change times and change the family, the relationship dynamics. But the old model of relationships was marriage used to happen so that once you get married, you were believed to have a happy place in heaven. You're happy after you die, right? Because if you die a spinster, it's not considered to be the right way to die.
Yeah.
And then over the years, marriages happened to find happiness. Today, marriages happen, and it's okay to leave one person and go on to the other to be happier, right? So that's the churn, and in that process, I think what the more clarity that has come up is, I think people are more sure of what they want and what they don't want. So there's more clarity about the negotiables and the non-negotiables. I think respect is number one. I don't think that people want to, whether it's the girl or the boy, respect is something people don't compromise on. Socioeconomic strata is not something, people want to compromise on. But I think to me, what seems unhealthy is there's a lot of emphasis on how to celebrate the wedding. Like it's all about planning the venue, kahan pe, kaun sa function hoga, kitne paise jayenge, and I think sometimes they don't know where to stop. And I feel, and
There's a
Peer
lot
pressure.
of peer pressure. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm seeing more so now is that we had gone to these 10 people's marriages, and the children are saying, we don't want to do this. We want to do a small marriage where only the people who love us and who feel good, we want only them. But the parents are saying that no, we have gone to their weddings and these are our friends and relatives, so we have to call them as well. So sometimes it's actually the tables are turned and the children are saying that please don't spend that much money, we cannot afford it.
Yeah.
And the parents are saying, but we have to do it because it's society demands that we kind of do it in that sort of way and all those things.
But what that takes away from, sorry Priya, is it shifts the focus from what the marriage is going to be like, the married years are going to be like, over what we're going to do for the wedding day.
So what happens after happily ever after
Yeah,
is the big
correct.
question.
Yeah,
But she
so
said
we-
early on being a spinster was seen as something that everybody said, oh bichari and all that. Now it's great to be single. We have these movies, single at 40, single at 50, and it's like I have no. So there is. My thing is, what is okay? Divorce is now okay. No one has an issue. Being single is okay. No one has an issue. What about being a single parent, having a child out of wedlock, not just via IVF or whatever, but having an affair and having a child? Everybody still says baap ka naam kya hai?
So I still think, unfortunately, we've not come out of that typical, of that set where we can still say happily that I'm a single woman and I decided that I'm going to adopt a child or I'm going to have a child through IVF. I don't know who the father is because this is a sperm donation, and I have had a child that is biologically my child. I don't think we've still got comfortable in that kind of space. And maybe we will get comfortable in, in another couple of years. But I think at this point that still is a little bit of a gray area. Being single is still perfectly fine. Nobody will ask you, if you're married or you're single. Otherwise, the first question was, oh, are you married? To who? You didn't have an identity of your own. Today, nobody really wants to know. They ask you, oh, so what do you do? That's literally your first question that you ask, right? So
Good
that
point.
change has really come about. So I don't think being married is the issue. Being single, living alone, living in a gay relationship, living, on your own, traveling abroad, how you spend your money, what you do. I think all of that is kind of still acceptable. But I still think as far as a child is concerned, you're absolutely right. They still ask, what's the father's name in the certificate. So you still need to have a fill in the blank there.
We're going to take a break and continue this discussion and look at, what is really going to be the new norm in the relationship situation. What are the new rules of engagement, so to speak? But after a quick break. Hello and welcome back to We Women Want. This week we're taking a look at the changing nature of relationships, and I'm glad we're saying relationships rather than just the marriage format, because now live-ins are okay. Actually, people are openly saying that I'm, subscribing to a dating app, I'm looking, girls also have no issues saying it as terms of men. I think we're also influenced by the liberated woman, where it's okay for women to have affairs and, not commit. So all that, is this a small town, is this something that you're seeing in big cities, or is it also percolating on the ground?
No, I think it's very much there all over, because everybody has one phone for sure, which has an internet connection, and and sometimes
as you
two.
said, the barriers.
So sometimes two. So I think it's going everywhere. Everybody has the access to look for people who match with what they want at that point of time. It could just be casual relationships, it could be casual sex, it could be a one night stand, it could be anything. And they're okay looking for that. And I think as youth of this generation, they are pretty sorted in that sense as to what they want. In fact, a couple of I think days back or weeks back, I was speaking to a young, you kind of there and they're talking amongst themselves, so you kind of observing and absorbing what they are saying. And I realized that they've done everything. They've had the relationships, they've done whatever what was expected to be done post marriage. So they're pretty sorted in that sense. Now they want to go to the parents and say, now you look for a girl for us or a boy for us. So then you will find the right person, because you know us the best. So find the right person for us, we'll marry them. Because now marriage, so the earlier I felt marriage was about, or relationships were about, learning about each other, taking that time and the space, and then you would have a kid after maybe 1 or 2 years or 3 years, and so you got busy after that. So by the 3 or 4 years that you had that space, you were still figuring each other out.
Correct.
Now you already know, what is that mystery that was there after marriage, that is already there. So now it is all about, let us look at people who match with our kind of lifestyle, our kind of way of life, our kind of thinking, etc. So that is another aspect or a vertical that is coming out from this new generation that I saw, and it really surprised me, because I thought, it's open for all. It's an open season for everybody. You can choose who you like.
But this vertical that's coming out was there in arranged marriages. That's what arranged marriages are. You find someone, because you don't marry the man or the woman, you marry the whole family. And that is important, because there has to be, it's not just the family, it's the set of values, the set of perspectives, a whole lot comes with that. And I think that still holds good today also.
To a large extent, yes. I think if we look at families independently, I think it's very dependent on what is the role parents play in the children's lives, and how much the children allow the parents to play a role. And that goes to the other side as well. And I also know of parents who completely trust the child's judgment or choice of their partner. And sometimes I think parents know that they're making the wrong or maybe a doubtful choice or decision, but they still allow the child to go through it as a learning experience and to respect that, that's the child's choice. But they assure the child that they're going to be there for them. So I think it works very differently when it, if we look at it, it's okay to talk about it generally, but when it comes to specific families, I think it's very dependent on the dynamics of the family and the relationships between the parents and child.
But I'll ask you the same question, is Namita, it's just not just, it's great to fall in love and find your own guy and all that, but then you have to also take a look at the family, because that does play an important role later on.
I think, especially in the Indian scenario, we don't marry the guy, we marry the family. That pretty much stands, and it makes a lot of difference. And with the fact that the girl today has the opportunity to say, no, this is not the person for me, because I don't see an XYZ happening, I think, so that kind of, I think, is getting a little easier. So it's a little bit of a juxtaposition, because you're not just marrying into the family because you're marrying a rich family or you're marrying a so-called good family or whatever. And it could be in any kind of, any kind of strata, right? But you are also marrying a guy within that setup. So you have like a particular kind of setup that this is the kind of person that I would like to marry. So you tick box a lot of those things. The reason why you marry into a family that is similar to yours is, I'm not going to take names, but there's this lovely young girl I know who, she and her husband, they got married and they have lived apart for almost 4 years, because she has a very healthy and a very well-established business. And so she continues to be in Delhi while her husband continues to work overseas. They have a great marriage. So things like that are changes that we are seeing, which we never saw before. And this is a choice that is being made by the two children. It's a choice that has been supported by the girl's side and the boy's side. So that's a very big thing.
But you need that support still.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
the thing. As you said, people are looking, but at the end of the day, I had asked her earlier, are the in-laws being collateral damage? Perhaps not. Through this conversation, I think it's coming out that even they still play a huge role. Maybe not in the deciding seat, but they are influencers.
Certainly, and supporters. And huge supporters, because without knowing that there is someone behind you to kind of put your hand on your back and say, don't worry, do what you think is right, we are behind you, and wo चार लोग जो बोलते हैं उनको हम संभाल लेंगे, so that knowledge that there are your parents and your in-laws are behind you, and you can take that decision which is not the norm, or not which is not in the in the sort of normal way of things that are done. You really need mentally to have your mental strength, or to keep that thing, or to continue to do that, because it's not a one-day decision, right? You have the consequences of the fallout are going to ripple out for many years. So to know that there is someone behind you with more experience who can maybe guide you if required is a huge support. It's a very important thing, I think.
But Priya, to whether in-laws are collateral damage or parents are, I think it depends on, we can't completely rule that out, because I think a lot depends on the amount of resistance you get from them. If there is a lot of resistance from the in-laws or from the parents, I mean, kisi ke to in-laws hain hi wo dono.
Yeah.
I mean, so then yes, there is collateral damage.
Okay. But my other is also, we were talking about relationships that are, what goes wrong in relationships. Are people now becoming aware of, abuse is not just physical. There's also toxicity. There's, we have narcissist personalities. We have people who gaslight. And it could be either. I don't think it's a gender thing. It could be either way. But are those issues now coming to the forefront?
Yes, they are.
More than earlier.
And I do also see a change in people seeking premarital counseling more than before, though not as much as need be. I do feel that there's more awareness about personality types, and people do pay attention to the red flags. For example, if there are finances being discussed, and I think that the participation of the children in their own marriage also brings out, it highlights it, because I think they're more informed in today's times than maybe sometimes the parents are. And so they're able to say that this is not okay. If there is a resistance in the amount to be spent, or a demand for the amount to be spent, it's not okay. If there is no flexibility around certain social customs, values, religions, acceptability of views, even professions to that matter, they're spoken about. So yes, to answer your question, there is more awareness. Again, it is individual and there are limitations to it. But more
Yeah.
awareness is helping.
Yeah. Which is, we've seen it, I think now we've seen it at parties, we've seen couples, ridiculing each other, belittling. So that is not banter, there is something deeper. But are more people now ready to acknowledge and talk about it?
I think so. I think a lot of people, earlier the word counselor or the word
Yeah.
psychiatrist or used to be like, oh my God, you must be mad. Today people are well aware of what mental health is, and they come out and they discuss it, and they're not shy to say that I'm taking help from a counselor. And I think it's so important, because sometimes getting an unbiased opinion or an unbiased point of view, and just to have someone to talk to who's not going to judge you, is such an important thing. And I think a lot of us would really help from counseling. We don't really go to counselors, but I think a lot of us would help from counseling, because there are small issues in a marriage that you actually know that you're egging the other person on. And we've all been there, guys. So we all know it, that we know that we're egging the other person on, or the other person's egging us on. We can see it. We don't know how to stop ourselves. We continue doing it one more time and one more time until it flares up. So somebody who can make you realize and make you understand and bring to your mind that, the kind of space that you're at, and what you're being able to, what you're being able to feel, or what you're being able to say, and how much you can internalize it, and then you can actually express it and tell the other person that, hey, listen, I think I made a mistake here, and I'm willing to accept it because I've seen it.
What are the other red flags that you feel, people are now becoming more and more aware of such things rather than...
Certainly, yeah. I think not only people, I think the society as a whole. And I'll tell you how, because earlier what used to happen was, when the marriage used to fall apart, people would come and say that, when we saw the boy or the family or the girl or the family, we thought there was something off. But they would never say anything at that point of time, because you felt that you didn't have the right to, or it is not the right time, etc. Now people make the effort to kind of hint it to you that there seems to be something off. So I think that is a welcome change. I think that people are taking that, as a society or as your friends, family, are taking that responsibility to tell you to be cautious. Eventually it may turn out to be nothing else, but the fact that people are stepping in, that is one that I find that as a positive. People may say that, why would you poke your nose? But I think rather than seeing it as a consequence to something that may not be the right thing for the two families, I think I would rather always say that just be careful, have a look at this again. Then certain red flags are there, like as we were talking about, putting someone down and having this need to be, the alpha in the room, the constant need to have things your way. It's either my way or the highway. And marriages are all about finding the middle ground, finding that bridge that you have to climb day after day after day. And so if that is the kind of thing, of course, financial, there are big red flags, there are yellow flags, that may not be the deal breaker, but certain things that you need to keep in mind, especially when it comes to men or even women to a large extent, the passive aggressivity, the aggressiveness, and, so a lot of things are also cultural, not even cultural, actually familial. So what happens is that in some family, it's okay to shout and have a conversation, and it's a discussion for them. But for a person, it may be that, they're fighting and they're shouting and zor say, the volume is on a high, and it could be a culture shock for another person. So these are these small things that you come to know very, very much later on in life, when everything is done and dusted. you know.
within the four walls.
So,
That is
yeah,
true.
Yeah.
So there is a road ahead, as we said earlier, not just the marriages or the rituals, it's really, how you deal with what comes after and how you define the relationships and make sure that, I think the words that have come out are respect, communication, and I think just appreciating each other's rights and looking after your own self also. So on that note, thank you so much for watching this show. We'll see you again same time next week.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.